like a one-person play that you do based off of a book. All right. Oh, Mrs. Lind, I am so extremely sorry. I could never express all my sorrow. No, not if I used up an entire dictionary. You must just imagine it. I've behaved terribly to you, and I've disgraced the dear friends Matthew and Marilla, who let me stay at Green Gables, although I am not a boy. I am a dreadfully wicked and ungrateful girl, and I deserve to be punished and cast out by respectable people forever. It was very wicked of me to fly into a temper because you told me the truth. It was the truth. Every word you said was true. My hair is red, and I am freckled and skinny and ugly. What I said was true, too. But I shouldn't have said it. Oh, Mrs. Lind, please say you forgive me. If you refuse, it will be a lifelong sorrow to me. You wouldn't like to inflict a lifelong sorrow on a poor little orphan girl, would you? Even if she had a dreadful temper? Oh, I'm sure you wouldn't. Please say you forgive me, Mrs. Lind. Oh, Mrs. Barry, please forgive me. I didn't mean to intoxicate Diana. How could I? Just imagine if you were a poor little orphan girl that kind people had adopted, and you had just one bosom friend in all the world. Do you think you would intoxicate her on purpose? I thought it was only raspberry cordial. I was firmly convinced it was raspberry cordial. Oh, please don't say you won't let me play with Diana anymore. If you do, you will cover my life with a dark cloud of woe. Throughout Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery, Anne is obligated to apologize to many different people, many different times. Her offenses come in many different sizes. But despite some of her worst mistakes, she is generally forgiven by those she offends. However, her greatest mistake is actually one she never asks for forgiveness for. Her greatest offense was her unwillingness to forgive. Carrots, carrots! You mean and hateful boy! How dare you! Anne Shirley, what does this mean? It was my fault, Mr. Phillips. I teased her. I am sorry to see a pupil of mine displaying such a temper and such a vindictive spirit. Anne, go stand on the platform in front of the blackboard for the rest of the afternoon. Anne Shirley has a very bad temper. Anne Shirley must learn to control her temper. I'm awfully sorry I made fun of your hair, Anne. Honest. Don't be mad for keeps now. Oh, Anne, how could you? I shall never forgive Gilbert Blythe. And Mr. Phillips spelled my name without an E, too. The iron has entered into my soul, Diana. But of course you must be Elaine, Anne. I would never have the courage to float down there. Nor I. I don't mind floating down when there's 2 or 3 of us in the flat, and we can sit up. It's fun then. But to lie down and pretend I was dead? Oh, I couldn't. I'd die really of fright. But it's so ridiculous to have a red-headed Elaine. I'm not afraid to float down. I'd love to be Elaine. But it's ridiculous, just the same. Ruby ought to be Elaine, because she is so fair and has such lovely, long, golden hair. Elaine had all her bright hair streaming down. You know, and Elaine was the Lily Maid. Now a red-haired person cannot be a Lily Maid. Your complexion is just as fair as Ruby's. Well, I'll be Elaine. There, now she's ready. We must kiss her quiet brows. And Diana, you say, "Sister, farewell forever." And I say, "Farewell, sweet sister." Both of us, as sorrowfully as we can. And for goodness sakes, smile a little. You know Elaine lay as though she smiled. That's better. Now, push the flat off. Oh, dear God, please take the flat close to a pile, and I'll do the rest. Thank you, God. did you get up there? Oh. What has happened, Anne? We were playing Elaine, and I had to drift down to Camelot in the barge. I mean, the flat. The flat began to leak, and I climbed down onto the pile. Would you be kind enough to row me to the landing? I am very much obliged to you. Anne, look here. Can't we be good friends? I'm awfully sorry I made fun of your hair that time. I didn't mean to vex you, and I only meant it for a joke. Besides, I think your hair is awfully pretty now. Honest, I do. Let's be friends. No, I shall never be friends with you, Gilbert Blythe. And I don't want to be. All right. I'll never ask you to be friends again, Anne Shirley. And I don't care either. Well, Anne, I hear you've given up your notion of going to college. And I must say, I was real glad to hear it. But I'm going to study Latin and Greek just the same, Mrs. Lind. I'm going to take my arts course right here at Green Gables and study everything I would at college. Anne Shirley, you'll kill yourself. Not a bit of it. I shall thrive on it. Oh, I'm not going to overdo things, but I'll have plenty of spare time in the long winter evenings. And I have no vocation for fancy work. I'm going to teach over at Carmody, you know. I don't know it. I guess you'll teach right here in Avonlea. The trustees have decided to give you the school. Mrs. Lind, why, I thought they had promised it to Gilbert Blythe. So they did, but as soon as he heard you applied for it, he went to them and told them he withdrew his application and suggested they accept yours. Of course, he gave up the school just to oblige you because he knew how much you wanted to stay with Marilla. And I must say, I think it was real kind of thoughtful in him, that's what. Gilbert, I wanted to thank you for giving up the school for me. It was very good of you, and I want you to know I appreciate it. It wasn't particularly good of me at all, Anne. I was glad to be able to do you some small service. Are we going to be friends after this? Have you really forgiven me my old fault? I forgave you that day at the pond landing, although I didn't know it. What a stubborn little goose I was. I may as well make a complete confession. I've been sorry ever since. We're going to be best of friends, Anne. We were born to be good friends. You've thwarted destiny long enough. I know we can help each other in many ways. You're going to keep up your studies too, aren't you? So am I. Come, I'm going to walk home with you. Gilbert's words were true. He and Anne were going to be best of friends, but it took a long time for them to get there. Withholding forgiveness tends to hurt the unforgiver much more than it hurts the unforgiven. We even miss out on great opportunities of friendship or joy because we are so tangled up in our own hard-heartedness. Anne of Green Gables gives readers a time to pause and ask themselves, where in their lives might they be withholding forgiveness? Thank you.